All right, and welcome to the second edition of the Investor Circle interviews. Wonderful to have you here. And, this is Mohammed. We met first in Web Summit. I can't believe that in November was such a long time ago already. You're here from R&D Ventures and Labs. So please tell us who you are, tell us about the thesis of what you're working on, and let's go.
So my name is Mohammed Al Rasbi, founder and CEO of R&D Ventures and Labs. It's a company that's been around for about 20 years, and we've been going through so many different pivots over the years. My last stint was a managing director at the Oman Technology Fund, where we invested in startups from pre-seed all the way to growth. Obviously, these terminologies change from the geography and the time, what have you. But the idea is we're sector agnostic and following and looking at basically what I've been doing the past 6 years. The idea is to continue doing that and investing in startups, ideally in the region, because I've gotten very good deal flow through that, and I've been able to work with a lot of founders from this space or this geography. And sector agnostic, and the rationale behind that is that I want to increase the top of the funnel, and I concentrate more on the founders than the ideas that they work on. And so because of that, I'm looking at long-term instead of short-term. So that's in a very short description of what I'm trying to do over the next, hopefully.
I know you've said to me before you like to think of founders like real people. You treat them with a great deal of respect. How do you frame that nowadays with the new venture?
So in Oman, where I'm based, hopefully most of them think of me as a godfather of startups. And the idea behind it is being able to guide them, because running a startup is very, very painful. And from everything from trying to launch a product, trying to figure out the space you're in, being in a very, let's say, Oman itself is a very small market, so trying to figure out what to do, I have to expand or grow outside the country. But also when I work with founders, the idea behind it is like, I'm not interested in their first venture, I'm not interested in the second venture, I'm interested in their third. So I'm always looking at would I be willing to work with this person over the next, say, 10, 20 years, then I would like to engage with them, regardless if investment is made or not, because there's some founders I've actually worked with but have not invested in, but I like the fact that what they're doing. I think money should not be let's say the reason you engage with someone. It could be for many other reasons. And I think, I'm basically, I don't know if it's healthy or not, but my founders call me at all times of the day, even midnight, past midnight, they're stuck with something, they know they can get access to me. And because of that, I think I built a decent relationship with them. And it's good from pretty much all over the MENA region, from Pakistan all the way to Tunisia. We have founders all over the space, and working in so many different sectors as well, which is also interesting for me. My background is mechanical engineering, and
so you're a geek.
I am a geek, and I've been coding for, I would love to reveal my age, for the past 37 years.
It's not possible, man. It's not possible.
So yeah, and I love coding. I love the problem solving. I love the fact, and mechanical engineering is something that's I like to say is the godfather of all engineering, where problem solving is the essence of it, and it just makes life easier. And because before I started with the Oman Technology Fund, I had run my own consulting firm where we did online services, and basically the thesis behind that is open up to anyone. And so I have very small clients, like 1 or 2 people, to very large multinational companies, and it gave me the ability to work with on so many different projects that when I started with the Oman Technology Fund, it allowed me to very quickly and easily be able to support the founders, assess very quickly, and then say, okay, there's something here. Okay, how can we help? And then obviously it's not just me, but the mentors that I worked with over the past 6 years has helped a lot as well.
So I think when we spoke before, you mentioned that the fund had put together maybe about 200 investments nearly across the seed and the sort of more growth stage. What are your numbers at this point?
So Oman Technology Fund invested in about 163 startups. With some of them we've doubled down. It's more than 200 plus investments. I think
amazing.
Almost 250, if I'm mistaken, and some of we've done second and third follow-ons. Sector agnostic, like from pre-seed to growth, from the areas like from B2B enterprise to electric cars to wedding platforms to drones, drone manufacturing, to like everything under the sun. And for me, that was amazing because it gave the geek in me the ability to work with so many different founders. So,
and is that a key criteria on the selection process, that they need to be geeky enough, or how do you screen people?
So okay. Coachability is very, very important for me, and the reason for that is because I have limited time, and because of that, obviously running a startup, there isn't one way. If there's a clear way to run a startup, and it's very clearly, if you follow this way, you'll end up being a unicorn, then everyone would have already done it. And because of that, there's so many different paths and so many pivots that someone needs to do, and sometimes there's some of it is gut, some of it is the gut feeling, some of it has to do with the space that the person is in. So coachability is someone that is willing to listen, not necessarily accept. Just to clarify, they don't need necessarily accept what I'm saying, but at least assess, and then based on that, make an informed decision. And by the way, one of the main reasons I think we're successful is because I have mentors in our network that give founders basically so many different point of views that are completely opposite, and both make and most of the time they all make sense. And as founders, you need to make a decision: which one should we follow, which one we are comfortable with, and basically be responsible for the decision they make. So coachability is not necessarily following orders; it's more of, are you willing to listen, and are you willing to take the time to try something out, and if it does make sense, then follow it. So that's one. The second is, are they willing to, and this is where it gets a bit tricky, because when you're in a place where you have a decent job, it's like, so I sometimes I do talk to founders like, do you really want to do this? Because it's not easy. And if you have a cushy job and you have a family and you have everything in place, why would you go and start a startup?
It's an unreasonable act, right? It's so full of uncertainty.
So what I try to do is like try to get them onto. We use different tools, and one of the tools I always like is by Ash Moira, Lean Stack. So we subscribe to that platform. So I get them access to that. They start doing a few calculations and build up their Lean canvas. And then after that, say, okay, if you're willing to do this, then I can have other follow-up calls with them, and based on that, can assess. Are you sure you want to take this trip? If you are, okay, let's go together. So that's one in one instant. Another instant where we kind of assess is where we all have call for applications, people that apply, and then we run an actual virtual boot camp where we have mentors come on and run a series of workshops over the weekend. And the whole purpose of this is to get them to understand how to pitch to us. And the rationale behind that is because sometimes, and this is from experience, like you find founders that are very good. They know what they're trying to do, and there's actual genuine problem they're trying to solve, but the issue is they're not able to articulate that. And the purpose of these workshops is to get them to understand how to size the market and how to pitch. These are the two main areas that we want them to understand better. And then when they actually pitch, we get them to record. We get them to go through a series of, let's say, gates. And if the person is willing to go through all that pain, then we take the next step where we actually assess them further. And then if we make a decision, okay, we want to go further, then we actually run a series of one-to-one sessions with me personally, and then with depending on the time, could be with 6 other mentors, where there are three questions. Should we invest? If we are to invest, what are the next steps, and are there any red flags? Because you can make a decision that you invest, but then there's a red flag. It could be, the cap table is not really done right, or there's something wrong with it that we need to assess. And so from day one, we try to figure out a solution for that, or some other reason. Or it could be that the person is good, but the red flag is that they're not ready yet to jump and start working on this. So we will say, okay, we're not coming now, we'll come in later on. And then, next actions. What should we do with them to help them to get to know the next step? So startups go through a series of iterations. Customer problem fit. Is there a large enough large enough customer base that are facing a certain problem? Okay, that's good. Next step is problem solution fit. They'll go through a series of solutions that they will present to these customer base and see would they actually accept this solution, will they pay for it, if then hopefully they reach product market fit. But the idea is that it could be that there's a series of iterations that you go through in the problem solution fit, because solution number one might not work, and then you try number two, number three. Again, building a solution is not the idea, is actually presenting a solution, a potential solution, without building it yet. So the idea, usually the old methodology is to build, demo, and sell, and the idea is to actually demo, sell, and then build, which is a bit contradictory to a lot of people. It's like, wait, how do I sell something I build? And how can I demo something that I have? So that's where we try to see, that's where coachability comes into play. Are they willing to take that? Because investments, most of the time at the pre-seed stage, you get a small amount of money, not a lot of money, and you're supposed to validate something. If you're not able to validate, and you spend all that money in developing a solution that most probably will end up getting tossed away, then you've burnt a potential opportunity that you can engage with investors in the future.
So where do you stand on things like solo founders versus teams? What do you look for there?
That's a very good question. So I'm responsible at the moment for 90 startups. Out of them, the majority are a group of founders, and then we have some that are solo founders. Solo founders depends on their coachability. Because at the end of the day, what happens is that they'll get bombarded with so many different advice from so many different people. If they're willing to listen, and they're willing to actually be able to have a discussion, then I think they're fine. But then if you have a solo founder that is very stubborn, then that doesn't work. Having said that, obviously, this is where it gets. This is the thing I like about creating a community behind. When you're running a fund and running association programs, what have you, is actually getting as many people as possible to kind of interact with each other. Because even if you're a solo founder, then you interact with other founders, and it doesn't feel as lonely as it would seem if you're doing it by yourself. So sometimes that's one of the perks of being part of a fund, part of an acceleration program. Actually, acceleration program causes that interaction. Usually funds in general might not always create these opportunities for people to interact. That's where acceleration programs can come into play, and people should actually assess, is there value in it or not? Unfortunately, a lot of acceleration programs do end up being a show more than anything else. And so personally, I don't believe in the time-bound acceleration program. So when COVID hit, I changed things around where I've opened up our acceleration programs to everyone. So it doesn't matter which cohort you were part of. Previously, we were doing cohort basis. That was open. And that actually allowed a lot of founders to accelerate much faster, because founders would know, I don't only have the mentors for 3 months, I actually have them more or less forever. And that allowed them to take more risk and be able to actually be able to move at a faster pace. So it doesn't matter if it's solo or a group. For me, personally, it doesn't matter. Because it doesn't matter because there's a group behind it. But if I do just invest, just put in money, that's it, then I would not invest in single founders, because then we do not have the support system to be able to succeed.
Amazing. All your talk about coachability has reminded me of that very old joke, which is a proper dad joke, as my kids would say. So it's, how many psychiatrists does it take to change a light bulb? And the answer is one, but the light bulb has to want to change, right? So it's kind of a silly thing, but it's really important part of what we do for coaching in Canopy as well, which is when you meet somebody who says they need help, if you feel like they're gonna actually take it on board, then you spend time with them. But if you feel like there's a barrier to the listening part of that, and they're not even going to think about what you say, then it's pretty pointless even trying to coach them or to help them. So super interesting, you got that reflection. Just as we finish off, really, I guess the most important question I should ask you is, if somebody's watching this and they're about to raise money for the first time, with all your experience, like what's your best advice for them? What's the sort of first thing or the best thing they could be doing?
So if you're raising money and it's the first time, do your homework. One of the worst things that you can do is the way you approach VCs. So a lot of VCs are busy and they get bombarded with so many different deal flow basically, and pitches and what have you. So you need to do your homework properly. And the good thing is that there's a lot of information available online already. I mean, and look at the type of startups that they actually invest in. If you just bombard and spray and pray, and then hopefully something you hope that something comes out of it, the likelihood you will succeed is very low. But if you actually do your homework, do you understand what stage they invest in? Because also that's another issue. Sometimes founders will reach out to me and they either, so I would invest in early stage, pre-seed. And so a founder comes to me and they're trying to raise, 10 million. It's like, I'm the wrong stage for you. And same, the opposite is true as well. So if you go to someone that only would invest, their minimum ticket size is 10 million and you're trying to raise, 100K or 200, whatever it may be, much less than that, you've kind of burnt a bridge with potential bridge in the future. So another way to kind of do this is like, usually if you're raising 1 million, you obviously will not go in and speak to someone that initial ticket is only 10 million. But let's say you would talk to other investors, like understand the stage they're in, what are the requirements. So do a bit of fact finding, but then again, remember they're busy. So a lot of this information is already available online. You can look at TechCrunch, you can look at Crunchbase, you look at LinkedIn, look at the other startups that they invest in. There's a lot of press releases. Use all the different AI tools right now that are available that can help you unearth the data that might be a bit difficult for you to find, and then see as this is would fit their thesis or not. Understand how their decision-making process as well. Sometimes it's not easy; it's a bit difficult. So maybe you look at the junior analysts in the firm itself and try to buy them coffee or what have you if you can, and try to understand the decision-making process. Do they have investment committees? Do they, as a unanimously, the decision is that the partners need to agree to, or is it just a single champion that would actually say, I would like to do this deal, and then everyone else would say, okay. So that has a big impact on the decision-making process. Look at, I would personally, like if you're starting out, so you're, let's say, pre-seed, look at the different programs, acceleration programs. Not necessarily to enter them, but actually going through the process of applying, because you will get basically torn apart by if you end up getting to different stages, where they will bombard you with so many different questions to understand, are you a right fit for them or not? This in itself, the journey itself, and will allow you to understand the benefit of the type of questions they get asked. Sometimes you get asked questions that you're not really sure how to answer them, and so you need to be able to be ready for answering questions that you don't have the answer to, in a way that gives confidence to the investors. I always tell to founders this I like this thing where you're not selling the fish in the sea, you're selling the idea that there might be fish in the sea. Okay, so
there might be fish.
There might be fish. So you need to get to that level. You're not selling, because if there is fish in the sea, then it's somewhat of an easy sell. But you need to go to one level further, which is actually selling the idea that there actually might be fish in the sea. So how can you convince someone? Because that's what VC is. You're selling a future, and the future, you don't know what the future will hold. And a lot of them need to understand: are you the right bets? Because basically, it is betting. Are you a right bet for them? Also, a lot of founders think of competition as something bad, but actually competition is very, very good, especially in the VC space. They like to compare. They like to see what others have done and potential exits as well. If you seek investment from VCs, remember at the end of the day, there will be an exit. And because of that, don't go to a VC expecting them to give you money and that's it. No, they want you to reach a level of increase in valuation, so they end up exiting, or the company either gets acquired or you hopefully get IPO'd. So there's an exit strategy that needs to be in place and needs to be clear to the investors. The more you do homework for them, the more they will like you, and that will actually help them. Now, sometimes you might get some investors that say, no, okay, maybe later on. Send them either monthly or quarterly updates. I like monthly updates. Doesn't have to be long. And as far as templates for monthly updates, there's so many available online. So do that. It does help potential investors, and keep in touch with them. And again, never go to an investor when you ran out of money. Usually, you need to
it's a difficult conversation, right?
Yeah, and the likelihood they will invest if you run out of money is, you need to have something really substantial for them to actually invest, but the likelihood is very low. Or if they invest, then you'll be taken advantage of. So again, investors, by the way, investors actually, they need to show their investors returns on their investment. So again, are you the right bet? The more homework you do, and the good thing is, and sometimes it surprises me, a lot of people don't do homework. It's very easy, and now with all the tools available to you right now, you can capture all this information very quickly, and not because some think that's it's a waste of time, but actually it's not. Now, venture capital is not meant for everyone, so also realize, are you the right fit for it or not? Because if you take the moment you take money from VCs, that's the beginning of the end. Okay, because at the end there will end up being an exit. So hopefully it's a positive exit, not a negative one, but it's at the beginning of an end. Are you ready for that journey or you're not? And so there's a lot of literature outside. You can read a lot about this process. So I think you should do a bit of homework. And the thing is, it's not a lot of work to understand this let's say the process. If you just spend personally, I think spend a couple of days, you will learn a lot that will help you make an informed decision.
Amazing insights. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. I'm really sorry you've overrun on time, and I know you've got another meeting to go to, and I promised I would stick tightly to time, so I do apologize for that. But thank you so much for sharing with the community those kind of insights. That's absolutely wonderful for this series. It's exactly what we'd hoped for, to really share the mechanisms but also the personalities and the way that investors think, and it's been fantastic today. Thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing you in November at Web Summit, and of course we're going to do the investor reverse pitches and stuff there as well. So yeah, it'd be great to see you again.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for being here today.
Bye-bye.